You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. In the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis cop who is on trial for killing George Floyd, the judge of the case said he is going to allow some body camera footage into evidence in the trial. Of course, Judge Peter Cahill said the body camera footage took place in 2019. It was a year before Chauvin kneeled on Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. This particular body cam, Judge Cahill said this, quote, is some relevance to Floyd's arrest on May 6, 2019 because it shows an example of Floyd's physical symptoms and bodily reaction to being confronted by police in a similar situation as his deadly arrest on May 25, 2020. 13 jurors have been seated, 5 men and 8 women, and they're almost near conclusion of jury selection. Candace, you're the lawyer on this panel. What does that mean, this judge's decision?
Listen, defense attorney Eric Nelson has been trying to get this evidence in since last year. The judge finally acquiesced, but only to a point. This means that Eric Nelson, defense attorney, will be able to use this recording to show that there was some MO on George Floyd's part in order to conceal drugs. And that's exactly what the defense wants. They want there to be this evidence that there were drugs concealed so that they can use those drugs as a basis to say that that was a contributing factor to his death. So at the end of the day, after months and months of wrangling, the defense got what it wants. It is going to be able to show the parts of the video that goes from the police approaching the car just until he's put in handcuffs. Nothing when he goes to the police precinct or the hospital. All of that comes after, nothing. But within those first couple of minutes, not even a couple of minutes, you do see that there are pills on the seat. That's allowed. You see that he was trying to conceal drugs. That's allowed. And so here we have basically what's a win for Eric Nelson. And, you know, that's what happens when you have a good attorney. For those of you who have been watching, I'm sure that you can agree that Eric Nelson is a good attorney. So the prosecution has to do all they can to fight otherwise and say, hey, look, on one hand, we have this tape that says these are the same. This is an MO. But on the other hand, all right, so we have the same MO, but why is George Floyd dead? And that's going to be the prosecution's test to prove that that's going to be the major difference. And that's where those two recordings part ways.
Rob, obviously, supporters of Chauvin, they have been trying to cast aspersion against George Floyd. You've had Tucker Carlson, you've had Candace Owens, you had all the people in conservative media. Oh, George Floyd died of a drug overdose. It wasn't Chauvin, as if we didn't actually see.
We didn't see his knee on his neck for 9 minutes. Jesus Christ. Yes, I mean, the goal of this is to make people reject what they saw and figure out an exit ramp to say, oh, well, it's because he used drugs, or, oh, he was violent, or whatever. I mean, so it's allowing people to have that. It's not reasonable doubt. I don't think what happened a year ago was relevant. But as was stated earlier, it matters. Your attorney matters a lot. And unfortunately, who tells the better story, not often how the facts are presented, is how these things end up playing out. And so all the defense is going to do is just figure out a way to say, oh, look, you just need to focus on this. The fact is, he was doing drugs. That probably contributed to it. And I guess we should just ignore the fact that he sat on his knee for 9 minutes as he begged for his life. To me, I don't understand how a year prior, what that has to do with anything. That doesn't give you any justification to put your knee on somebody's neck for 9 minutes and suck the life out of them. That has to be told over and over and over again from the prosecution's point of view, because what the defense is going to do is try to get you down a rabbit hole to distract on one thing. You've talked about it on this show. You know, when a guest tries to get you off on a rabbit hole when you're on a point, that is what the defense is going to try to do with this case. They're going to try to say, see, look at that. He's a drug addict. See, look at that. Look at that. He was doing that. Look at that. We thought this was going to happen. Look at that. This had to happen in order to restrain this guy. They're going to come up with any reason they can to justify, or at least just put a little bit of doubt on only one juror's mind, because all you need is a hung juror. You got to have all your jurors agree, all 12 agree to a charge, and the goal of the defense too is at least to get one juror. But I mean, frankly, just to create, they would love to get a non-conviction. But if you just get one juror to say no, that's enough, and then it's hard to come back. You might be able to do it one other time, but you won't do it 3. and the defense knows that.
Bottom line is here, Michael, folks, you just simply got to get prepared for it. Look, the job of the defense attorney is to get their clients off. They're going to try to say everything they can about George Floyd to this jury.
This kind of goes back to our conversation last Friday, because I am cautiously optimistic about this case. I've studied a number of these cases. I'm cautiously optimistic, with the emphasis on cautious. And we remember Philando Castile, that was in Minnesota as well. And when you read about that case and you read the testimony from Officer Yanez said that he smelled marijuana in the car. And he said he thought to himself, what type of people would use marijuana in the car with a little child in the back seat? And he used that to try. This was his testimony in court, and he used that, and it worked. Well, they had a lot of pro-police people on the jury as well. But so I've been studying white supremacy for a long time, and so this is why I'm just like really cautious about this case. I hope justice prevails. But the main thing, and Rob is correct on this, that the main thing that we have to focus on, and the jury should focus on, and the prosecution, I'm sure they will keep the jury's attention on this. There was about 3, maybe 4 minutes where George Floyd is unconscious. He's not moving at all. And Chauvin still kept his knee on his neck. Well, what threat did he pose? He's not moving.
As he was begging, talking to his mother, and asking for his mother.
I'm talking about after that. There's a period of time after that he stops moving. He's not talking. He's unconscious, and he still kept his knee on his neck. Why? You so afraid? You're so afraid of a black man's body that's not moving that you just got to make sure that he's dead? Why? So that's what they have to really keep the focus on.
Yeah, Roland, I would say this was one other point with Minnesota. The one case that did get convicted happened to be a person of color. And the prosecution over and over again said, what scared him so much about a pink shirt? It was a woman in a pink shirt. He said he feared for his life. He did the same. He reiterated the same ridiculous defense that we always hear that always works. But this time it was a white woman in a pink shirt. And what's so threatening about that? I would argue, what is threatening about a man who you have handcuffed, who is begging for his life, and your knees on top of him? What is threatening about him? Why do you need to do that? And he's begging for his life. What makes him threatening?
I just wanted to piggyback off of Michael's point too.
Sure, go ahead.
When he said that there were several minutes where you couldn't hear him. A former officer Chauvin says, "I can hear you, so that means you're breathing." So that if he didn't hear him, then we can imply, it can be, implied that he's not breathing. So I think that the prosecutors also have a good run at that theory, because that tape supports what Michael was just saying. There was a time when he was just completely unconscious. He wasn't saying anything. Things had changed. His hands were in his pocket. Could not have been that much of a threat.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.